Congratulations on Ransom Canyon. It's great, and I love your character Yancey. He's kind of a badass.
Thank you. Yeah, no, he definitely is. I'm very I feel very lucky and fortunate to get to play such a cool character. So,
Yes, absolutely. And no spoilers, of course, but if there's one thing you hope viewers will kind of take away, or maybe even just like most about Yancey, what sort of comes to mind for you?
yeah, oh, that's a good question.
It might be a tough
I well, no, it's good. I'm just trying to find a way to word it so I don't give anything away. Because Nancy does have all these secrets, and that's kind of the fun thing about, watching his, the evolution of the character throughout the season. Um, but I think ultimately that, he's a guy who's struggling to, do the right thing in the midst of, his past and his past catching up to him and finding a way to try and make the right choice, if he can do that. So, which I think is a very real thing that a lot of people, confront in life. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And in addition to yourself, it's a stellar cast that sort of rounds out this very cool new series. And another might be a tough question as well, but who would you say was your favorite scene partner, sort of looking back on the experience?
oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I could talk your ear off because everyone is so great to work with. I mean Josh and Minka and James Brolin and Marianne Lee, of course, who's my love interest. Um but one of the guys that I had a lot of fun working with, and I learned a lot from watching, was Owen Mackin, who plays Davis. And him and I are kind of working together and whatnot. And um, he's so much fun to watch act. And and he walks that fine line between like it being expressive and physical and still keeping it very grounded, which is, a skill to, really it's difficult to like hone and have that be, part of an authentic performance because, you see actors sometimes take it too far or they're flat and Owen I think walks that line very well and I loved working with him and I just love hanging out with the guy. So it was always a great day on set when I was working with him. But yeah, man, I mean, I again, it's like James does like a million different things, and he makes all these great choices, and so I was constantly surprised by him. And I think there's like times where I see myself like when they like cut to my reaction to something that he does, and I'm like, oh, that was like just me reacting to it because I'm like that. Like I remember, like I'll remember like he walked into a room and he did something, and I was like, what? Like and it's great because like it works for his performance and mine, but yeah, that's it's such an amazing cast. So there's no pairing that I was ever like upset about. It was always great to work with everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, it's always interesting to hear. And I was curious, do you think Netflix maybe wants to make, I don't know, like a Yellowstone style franchise out of this? And has there been any chatter about, plans for, season two plot wise or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I know that they've opened a writer's room for season two, which is always a good sign. And I hound I hound April and the other writers for any sort of information that they can give me. Uh, and every so often they'll spill a little bit of info, but I think they're also wise to know that they're like, no, because then you're going to get married to this idea and these things change. It's the all of everything that they're coming up with right now is in its infancy. So, um, yeah, I mean I'm excited very much at the prospect of a season two. And as far as Netflix's version of a Yellowstone, I think that yeah, of course. I mean, who wouldn't want the success of what? Taylor Sheridan has done with, the Yellowstone franchise. I mean, it's a phenomenal show, and all of the spin-offs, I mean, are almost even like and better. I mean, I'm a huge fan. Um, and I think that the great thing about Ransom is that it doesn't try to be Yellowstone. It exists in its own thing, and it leans heavier into the romance. And so you don't turn it on and go like, oh, this is like a knockoff. It exists in its own world. So I'm very excited at that because that was, I think, probably a concern for a lot of people going into it. And I'm sure that like people who are turning it on might be thinking that's what they're getting into. And I think they'll be pleasantly surprised to know that that is not the case.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, watching this, I in no way was thinking that. I just think about it like big picture, you think about these other, series on other platforms,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Right.
That's I think like the gold standard right now for, and how he keeps pumping those out, man. He's just hitting home run after home run. So yeah,
Well, I think you guys have something great here as well, so
thank you. Yeah.
excited for everyone else to see it. And it's clear, it's clear you keep in great shape for roles like this. So I can't say I appreciate you making folks like me look bad.
No, no.
It's like looking at myself, I'm like, Jesus Christ. But for this kind of project, in all seriousness, for this, it's a unique setting. You got this great character, you sort of Western vibes. Did you find yourself learning anything new, becoming Yancey or, any sort of unique training or research that you found kind of interesting for this
Yeah,
universe?
yeah. I mean, we had extensive horseback riding training. We had cowboy camp every day for, the first few months, and which is, an exhausting process, but by the end, it's amazing how much, you're able to be comfortable on a horse.
Right.
And then for me in particular, I had a lot of bull riding training, and a lot of work on like bull riding dummies, and things like that. And then just kind of also the small movements and different things that sort of go into making, what an authentic bull rider would do, just from the details of like how do you wrap your arm, how do you, like put rosin on your glove and tie yourself down to the bull. And so all those things absolutely lend to sort of the world, and when you're in pre-production, maybe like the first month out when we first got to Albuquerque to start shooting and we started doing horseback stuff, you it's a great gift because then you do feel immersed and you're like, okay, yeah, like I'm playing a guy who, could live on a horse. And so now I'm getting to feel that. I'm getting to feel, what it's like to walk around after being on horse all day. And also just kind of being in that Western setting too influences sort of the feeling, that you want to bring to it. So yeah, it's there's a lot of training with that. And then of course, you know, I'm playing like a pretty strong, tough cowboy. So I put on a little weight and I wanted to put on some muscle for this. Um, so probably put on like 15 to like 20 pounds to play the part, which was I'm grateful for because I normally have to cut weight to like look super cut. And I wanted him to be like a little bit beefier and like kind of that corn-fed like strong cowboy sort of thing. And with that comes lots of time in the gym. So that luckily I enjoy doing that. But yeah, it is very, very tiring overall, especially when you have to do it for like a 6 month period rather than like, okay, hey, here's like the day where you got to take your shirt off. Now it's like, all right, you got to sort of keep this going for, half a year.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, well, that'll be my excuse when I'm getting putting on weight. I just be like, oh, it's for a role,
For a role, it's perfect. It's the best excuse. It's the best excuse.
Oh, that's great. I mean, everything looked so authentic, and what you're doing on screen. So I was just curious how intensive, the
Thank you.
preparations were. So how they
Yeah.
were. Yeah. So that's awesome. That's great to hear. And on a similar note, I mean, from I guess it's a couple years back now, I loved Top Gun Maverick. Saw it twice. My wife loved it.
Yeah.
Um, and I was curious, I remember reading how Manny Jacinto had said, he was kind of bummed. He did all that training and some of his scenes were cut. I was curious if you felt at all like that, or maybe not. I mean, maybe you're just,
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, so it was definitely I I think I was in probably a different position than a lot of the guys on that cast because that was my first movie I had ever done.
oh,
And
okay.
and so like I was like crippled with imposter syndrome at the time. And so I was really trying to just sort of like fake my way on set and just be like I was just like, hey, I'm happy to be here. And so it was an incredible experience for me because I just got to like take all this stuff in and and I remember at one point I had a conversation with John Hamm and I was talking to him and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, should I be like trying to like do something? Like, should I be like trying to like I don't know, like it just make an impression or like make do something? And he's like, no. He's like, your job right now, he's like, I've done movies like this. I've been in your position. Your job right now is to listen. He's like, just listen. It's all going to make sense later. And that stuck with me. And that was like an incredible lesson because, not just listening as an actor, like in a scene, be the person who's listening the best, but just take this in and the amount that I learned from watching like Tom do, what he did. And also, yeah, I mean it's an interesting thing because I think I probably originally had like maybe like 4 or 5 lines when I got the part and then each draft of the script that comes out, I'd be like, oh, that line's gone, that line's gone. And then, I think we did a reshoot with some of the main guys saying our lines over, and I remember kind of being like a little bit bummed, but I'm like, it also makes a lot of sense, because if like all of a sudden 3/4 of the movie, like I'm in there and I'm like, gonna be sitting ducks for enemy missiles, people would be like, who is he? They're like, we don't know who he is. So yeah, I mean, of course, like I would love to get to do, something again in that world, and especially now that I've grown so much as an actor, it was such an amazing cast, and I learned something from everyone on there. It was really like I hit the jackpot as a young actor, getting to do that and be there. Um, but yeah, it's that's how filmmaking goes a lot of the time. I've had a lot of stuff cut. Probably some of it for my performance and some of it just because that's how it goes. So that's the business. But yeah, I would love to get to be in that world again. So
Well, yeah, I'd love to see it. I mean, yeah, that was such a great follow up years later. So yeah, I hope it happens. And in the meantime, of course, congratulations again on
thank you.
Ransom Canyon. Can't wait for everyone to see that. And yeah, it was a great performance by you. So I
Thank you
hope
so
there
much.
will, I hope there will be more, with season two.
Yeah, 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 me as well. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Take care.